What up, sports fans? I'm Paulo Camacho, and this is the Macho Sports Report, where I talk to you about the sports stories that matter to me, hopefully matter to you. Okay, everybody, I'm going to do something a little different. I actually collaborated with a friend of mine, David Kim, about the 49ers' Week 1 win against the Minnesota Vikings, and their upcoming game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was kind of a long conversation, which kind of explains the long time tag. So if you want to check the whole thing out, just keep watching. Well, I'm doing this off the cuff. To be honest, Monday's game was a hell of a thing to watch as a 49ers fan, and a lot of 49ers fans, I'm sure, were really surprised. Because of that, it would be appropriate for me to talk to somebody who would be well-versed in 49ers football. This is David Kim. Come on in, man.
What's going on? I am David DK Kim. Some people call me the Heckler. Some people call me DK. But in Davis, I'm basically a resident 49er fan. WhatDoUWatch.com. Maybe some of you know me from the previews from last year. And I picked the Niners to win the West. I went homer. This year, though, I didn't know what to expect. But it was good to see what I saw on Monday. I still think they might be 8-8, maybe 9-7 at best. But it gives me hope for maybe a 10-6 season.
Right, okay. All right. So today we're just going to talk about Niners football and just riff on what we thought about Monday night and what we think might happen the rest of the season. So let's get started. Give me your initial thoughts on what you saw on Monday night.
Well, I feel like they started the game. They were very excited to be at home. They were very excited to be on Monday night. I mean, Kaepernick is undefeated on Monday night, so he wanted to keep it that way. And you could tell that the offensive scheme was a bit different than last year, as in they were concentrating more on the run, less four receiver sets. They were kind of letting Kaepernick move in the pocket and deciding real quick whether to pass and run. So I was really happy to see that. But you could tell that they're not where they need to be. It was 0-0 at halftime. Yeah. Minnesota Vikings kind of looked like they were about to take control, especially with that blocked field goal and all these 3 and outs and punt returns. But eventually, the Niners kind of found their legs, righted the ship, and they came out with a victory. And my most important thing that came out of it was Carlos Hyde definitely is going to be the real deal for us at this season. Right. I think Niner fans can put to rest their fears for now about losing Frank Gore and wondering who's going to take that mantle, because Carlos Hyde, for at least week 1, showed that he was the real deal and replacement.
Right. I'm glad you brought up Carlos Hyde, because that's one of the first things I want to talk about, because what's bothered me ever since Frank Gore left is that everyone in the media has been talking about, oh, well, Frank Gore, him being gone, well, oh no, now what's going to happen? They didn't realize that Carlos Hyde was that insurance policy for when Frank Gore was going to leave.
I mean, if you paid attention to last year, take away all the distractions, take away the turmoil at the end of the year and Jim Harbaugh going out and not holding that lead in San Diego and whatnot. If you really look at it, Carlos Hyde has done what the Niner Nation wanted him to do, be solid.
Yeah.
I mean, there was no reason to doubt that he couldn't step into that number 1 role and be successful. I mean, after all, I hate the Buckeyes, but he did go to a Big Ten school. It was Ohio State. They're pretty much running back you these days.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't shocking, but it was a little surprising because I didn't know he had that much explosiveness. I knew he was strong and he hit the hole, but he showed a little bit of athleticism on Monday, especially that touchdown run where he went one way, spun against the grain and outran the defense to the left. I mean, that was beautiful.
That was amazing. I didn't know that he was capable of moves like that, but seeing him in action, that was huge.
It was almost like Tom Stula was playing Madden, and he was like, oh, circle button, and he got that spin move in, and that's what I was saying to the customers at Woodstocks when we were watching the game. I was like, man, it looked like that he was playing a video game just there.
Right.
And that's a good sign, because the Minnesota defense, not the best defense, but I said this Monday night. I feel like the Niners and Minnesota are kind of on that same tier.
Yeah.
I don't know. We don't know who's going to be better than the other at the end of the season, but I think Monday night showed that against those other teams in their tier, they can be competitive, they can win, especially if they have the momentum going down the stretch.
Another thing about Carlos Hyde is that I feel like there's this sense of disrespect from the national media, especially when it comes to no one expecting this to happen. And I feel like when we drafted him back in 2014, I knew exactly what he was capable of. Because he said in interviews, he hates being tackled. And you see that motor.
He runs angry.
Yeah.
Normally.
Yeah.
but to also have that chip on your shoulder as, was it a second round pick?
Yeah, second round.
I mean, even as a second round pick, you were drafted.
Yeah.
You know, like early. I feel like first 4 rounds, you should have that chip on your shoulder. People were talking crap about you.
Yeah.
Because he thought in his mind that he was the incumbent. He was the next one in.
He was the best running back in the draft.
Once Frank Gore leaves, he almost knew for a fact he was going to do this.
Right.
And I think the only people that really doubted him was the media and fans outside of San Francisco. Maybe some of the Niner faithful, but I think deep down inside we all knew what he was capable of.
Right.
And for 1 week, he showed us to be, not crazy.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about Colin Kaepernick.
Because, I mean, that's a good transition.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the success of Kaepernick this year is going to depend upon how really reliable Carlos Hyde can be week in and week out.
Right.
If he can do what he did against Minnesota, then I think we see Kaepernick develop a little bit more this year as the quarterback, as even a pocket passer sometimes.
Right.
Because he's going to see less 5 deep, you pick your poison, and then checking down,
And it's not even just Hyde, because they do have Jarryd Hayne, and I know that he's still a...
He's going to be something by the end of the year.
Right. Yeah.
You watch.
Anybody who doubted him after that first touch, I'll get to that later. But yeah.
I'll get to that later too. That might have been the best thing that happened to him, by the way.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That first touch.
Didn't we? Yeah, exactly. Jarryd Hayne's still there, and I really feel like he can develop into a great runner in the NFL. Not just like a stand-up runner, but like once he actually learns, the way that running backs run, he's going to be fine.
I think the future for him is definitely some sort of a wing back where he's not necessarily a all-time halfback.
Yeah.
He's not a tight end. He's kind of like Delaney Walker where he can line up in the backfield, offset on the line.
Like a Darren Sproles.
Yeah, like somewhere between, like if you hybrided Darren Sproles and Delaney Walker into a player, I think you'd have Jarryd Hayne where you can exist in that bubble plus kick return and stuff like that.
Right. I mean, you can't forget about Mike Davis. Now, he didn't play in week 1, but now that Reggie Bush is injured, he'll have a chance to show what he has. Because I feel like they drafted him as insurance for Hyde.
Yeah.
Because, they don't want him to be just the main feature back.
Yeah.
It was great that he got 168 on Monday night, but at the same time, you don't want to wear him out.
Of course. I mean, he has young legs, so it's going to be probably longer than the older legs to wear him out. But you're right. You don't want him to hit the wall at like game 12 or 13 because he's not used to having a full 16-game slate as a starter. You do need him to give him a blow every now and again, and there's Hayne and there's Davis. And, if Reggie Bush does come back sometime in the next few weeks and is capable of really playing, that's a dangerous four-headed monster at running back.
Yeah.
Especially if the line can do what they did against Minnesota.
Let's talk about the line for a second. That was a huge thing to see on Monday night, especially with everybody worrying about what that right side was going to look like.
I think going back to how the media was disrespecting the Niners and how it was kind of like an us against the world feel on that Monday night, I think that right side of the line was just tired of hearing about how bad they were compared to the left side of the line.
Right.
How they were going to be the detriment. How Colin Kaepernick was going to only succeed as far as that right side of the line could protect him. You can only hear that for so long before you get ticked off and just want to punch someone in the mouth.
Exactly.
And luckily for the Niners, it was Minnesota Vikings on Monday.
Poor Vikings, I guess. But,
I think the Vikings will be okay by the end of the year.
Right.
I think the Niners would have lost. It would have been a much bigger deal for the Niners than the Vikings because I think from here on out, the Niners have that huge road ahead of them in the next 6-7 games where it's capable they could win some of these games, if not a majority of them, but there's a higher percentage that says if all things fall the way they do, they could go 0-6 down the stretch. I don't think so.
Right.
It's possible.
Right.
I think 3-3.
Okay. I mean, that's fair.
I think they end that brutal stretch at 4-3, 3-4, right there, right in the thick of an 8-8, 9-7 season, potentially a stealing of the wild card, at the end kind of thing. But
it's possible, definitely.
But we'll know what team they are in the next 2 months.
Right. Okay, so we talked about the offense, we talked about Kaepernick.
Oh, by the way, what do you think? Do you think Kaepernick can reach that, maybe at the next level, but that next half level where, you can see it happening in a couple of years under this offense, under Tom Sula, under a different scheme rather than the Greg Roman, thing. What do you think?
I think that Cap is smart. I think a lot of people underestimate how smart he actually is. I mean, Jim Tom Sula said in the media, but he's a film room guy.
Yeah.
He can pick up a lot of things right off the bat. His mechanics, that's going to be the big thing, because he has to relearn how to throw the ball, and he's doing a good job so far.
Yeah.
And he's shown a little bit of what he's capable of. I'm not sure whether Geep Chryst wanted to really unleash Cap just yet, just because it was a Monday night game. They don't want to put too much on him.
Oh, of course, and you know what? That's the way to go. I feel like Greg Roman last year put too much on Cap's plate.
Right.
He forced Kaepernick to grow up faster than he was ready to grow up, and we saw by the end of the season he had a lot of highs, but he had more lows because he had to make too many decisions. I think week 1 hopefully is an indication of what we're going to see, because he got to make split decisions on Monday. Throw it, run. That's it. Like a simple decision when he got flushed out of the pocket. Someone open? No, I'm going to run 5 yards.
Right.
And we didn't see a lot of that last year.
No.
We saw a lot of that a couple years before that when he first broke on the scene. But I think his first full quote-unquote season as a starter, I think the coaching staff might have underestimated his development up to that point.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm glad they kind of went back to more of a traditional power eye set. Not as many 4 receiver sets, not as many let Kaepernick decide whether it's A, B, C, or D. No. Let him decide, is A open? No, let me use my legs. And he's more successful that way.
Right. I think it's more important that they let him just figure it out on his own, but emphasize just a little bit his progressions.
Of
and
course.
you saw that on Monday night.
Yeah.
Like, he went through his progressions before he went to run.
You could see it was turning in his head. It was working a little bit, you know.
Right. Let's move on to the defense. I was actually kind of worried about this, considering every loss that they had on defense. We're talking Patrick Willis, Chris Borland, Justin Smith, Aldon Smith. I mean,
both corners.
both corners. You had no idea what Eric Mangini was going to come up with after we lost Vic Fangio, because Fangio's defense we never had to worry about.
Oh no, they knew their jobs. You knew what they would expect. 10 points, 13 points or less, and you know what? Keep them within the game, and let us score our points in the end.
Right. Again, back to the draft. When they drafted Jacoski Tart in the 2nd round, everyone was thinking, "What the hell are you doing? This is a strong safety. We don't need another strong safety." Now it's starting to make sense.
Of course. I mean, it's also, maybe the coaching staff, maybe they had an inkling. Maybe they sort of had a feeling of what was going to happen before all the news broke about all the retiring and whatnot. But maybe not. Who knows? Maybe it was just a hunch.
Right.
But hunches that work out, they look genius.
Exactly. And you got the man genius at defensive coordinator.
And you know what? He's one of those guys. He's a terrible head coach.
Yeah.
But he's a great defensive coordinator.
Right.
He's almost the Norv Turner of the defensive side of the ball. Norv Turner, horrible head coach. But he's a genius offensive coordinator.
Exactly.
Genius quarterback coach. Same thing with Mangini. You know what? He's a decent head coach. He can be a head coach somewhere.
Yeah.
He's a more world-class coordinator.
Yeah. I found it hilarious when people started ragging on the Niners, again, when they gave Eric Mangini the defensive coordinator job, because he was signed on the past season as an offensive coach.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, why the hell would you do that?
Yeah.
Well, this is why.
Exactly.
Because he's really good at coaching up a defense.
Hindsight.
And not only that, the blitz-heavy packages. You had to love that.
No, you know what, I did, because I thought they got a little too conservative last year. They were almost afraid to make a mistake, to almost leave the corners on an island and the safeties being on single coverage. But this year, it's almost like, I bet we can get to you before you can find an open man.
Right.
And it looked like it worked on Monday night, because Bridgewater, every time he got blitzed from that right-hand side, he didn't even know what to do. Like, the pocket was collapsing so fast that he had to either dive and hit the ground and give himself up, or try to run away from the pressure, but spin into the pressure that was coming from the strong side, because their line was being decimated by that front seven.
Yeah. Okay, let's go on to Jarryd Hayne.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. I've been talking about Jarryd Hayne all off season ever since he signed on.
I feel like everyone's been talking about Jarryd Hayne in one way or the other since he signed on.
And
First question was, is he going to make the team? And the next question was, obviously he's making the team, what's his impact?
Yeah.
What do you think his impact's going to be? I mean, seeing from what you saw week 1.
From week 1, I'm going to say that his main impact is going to be on special teams, especially in punt and kick returns.
Especially now with Reggie Bush injured, and he's basically the only guy that I feel like Tom Slow would trust back there.
Yeah, exactly. And the way he can tackle, this is the great thing about a guy like Jarryd Hayne, who knows how to tackle in the NRL. He can be used on defensive special teams plays. You saw in the preseason.
Yeah.
he knows how to tackle.
Yeah.
So,
He drives really well. His form tackling is what they teach you how to form tackle.
Right.
Move the feet, drive, put your head face right there, pick up and go.
So I feel like defensive special teams, offensive special teams, and as a backup running back, I feel like as a off pace back,
change of pace.
Yeah, that's the word.
It's been a long day.
Yeah. Change of pace back. Whether or not Bush is injured, they're going to use him in some packages.
Oh, for sure. I mean, he's too good and versatile not to utilize in the backfield, say late in the game to kill the clock, or late in the half to maybe run it down inside of 20 when you don't have any timeouts. Because he, like I said, his form tackling is one thing, but the way he runs with his knees moving, his feet, he's always driving forward. I mean, those are those intangibles that you don't really necessarily can teach. You either have it or you really don't. Like we were saying earlier, I think when he fumbled that first punt, that's the best thing that could have happened to him from the get-go. I know that sounds weird. You're like, DK, what are you talking about? Your Niner fanboys showing. No, but really, let's say you're a superstar in another sport. You give up all that money to come and play American football because that's your dream and you've accomplished what you want over there. And your very first play, you muffed the punt. He did a not safe for work, expletive on TV.
Yeah.
And after that, and you could tell he was mad and pissed and he was angry at himself. He knew he did wrong.
Right.
But I think from that moment on, he was super hyper, so concentrated and focused on what he was supposed to do that it didn't even matter that he fumbled at that point.
Yeah.
He wanted to go beyond that. And I think if he had, say, got the ball, broke off a 35, 45-yard run or whatever, he would still be disciplined, but I don't think that shock of him failing the first time would have been there.
Yeah.
Especially for someone that rarely ever fails in his other sport of rugby. He's one of the best.
And he's rarely ever failed in the preseason.
Exactly. So it must have been a shock to him.
Yeah.
But it's also a moment where, as a coaching staff, you can be like, hey, see, it's not as easy as you think. You got to, keep your concentration at all times. It's a coachable moment, and
right, exactly.
Probably one of the few coachable moments that he's allowed the coaches to have in the preseason up to now.
Yeah. Now, what do you think about Grant Cohn actually said in a special article for Bleacher Report?
Okay.
Yeah, this is the reason we should now bench Jarryd Hayne and bring in Bruce Ellington full time.
Because of the fact they fumbled?
Yeah.
First of all, I love Bleacher Report, but literally there's 15 to 20% of the people you can really trust. The other 75 to 80% are just trying to say sensational things to get you to click on their story and comment on their post.
Yeah.
Because they're just basically playing devil's advocate at that point.
Yeah.
I don't think he actually believes that. I don't think any football player actually believes that Ellington is going to be better in the long run than Hayne. I mean, that's absurd. If he was, then you know what? Ellington would have already been starting. Or already ahead of him in the depth chart. Another thing is, that's his opinion after week one. You know why they say that, this is my overreaction piece after week one? Because everyone overreacts, whether it's, oh, we lost, our season's done, or, if you're the Bills or the Niners or even the Titans, which didn't have very high projections and you beat a good team. Well, I guess Titans have been good, but you win a game.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, we're making the playoffs. We're 10, 11 and 5, we're making the playoffs, Pro Bowlers everywhere. The truth lies somewhere in there, right?
Exactly.
So why even bring that up? He did well after that fumble.
Exactly.
And so that proves he can put all those negatives aside and actually focus, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. I say you give him 3 or 4 weeks before you decide whether or not Ellington can go ahead of him in the depth chart. Because, Ellington's proven as much as he can prove throughout his whole career.
Yeah.
And that's not much if some guy from the rugby league is coming in automatically and already ahead of him in the depth chart, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Let's move on to week 2.
Ooh.
Steelers going to Pittsburgh, 10 a.m. start time.
I was going to say, it's the early game.
Yeah. So, all right, what do you think is going to be the biggest factor going into that particular game?
Le'Veon Bell still being suspended. I think that's the huge thing. Mm-hmm. I won't say the Niners are going to win, but it's going to be a close game because Le'Veon Bell, if he was actually playing, I think he would have been a difference of the Niners losing by 2 touchdowns plus or having them be in it near the end. And I think they're going to be in it near the end because as good as Ben Roethlisberger is, the Niners defense, if they can play like they played against Minnesota, Ben has a propensity to throw some picks, to turn the ball over, try to extend the plays. So if you can get 1 or 2 turnovers, convert that into 6 to 10 points, do what you did on the ground, and let Kaepernick kind of still emerge as is, there's a chance they can go in there and steal a victory. I don't know if it can happen after that really high of week 1. Are they going to be able to sustain that? Who knows? But once again, it's on the road, right? They're in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So just like the Monday Night Football game was the first game after all this turmoil, it's at home, us against the world, let's prove to our fans that we can do it. I'm almost glad that the first road game is somewhere hard like Pittsburgh, because Tom Sula, once again, can round up the troops, circle the wagons, as Boomer used to say, on Countdown, and be like, hey, us against the world. Let's show them that we can compete with a competitive team.
Okay.
And I think even if they lose, they keep it within, I'll say 10.
Okay.
Then I don't believe in moral victories, but it would be a moral victory for them if they kept it within 10. Okay. Anything more than that, c'est la vie, didn't really matter. You're supposed to lose anyway. And if you win, then you're 2-0, and who knows where you can go from there. Right. Anything's possible.
And here's my thing. 1, Tom Sula is going into Pittsburgh, where he grew up. This is a big thing.
Oh, you know what? That never really dawned on me.
Yeah,
okay.
exactly. So he grew up in Pittsburgh.
So the player's going to really want to play for him.
It's going to be a good homecoming. Yeah, exactly. They're really going to want to play for the guy. Again, what you brought up with Le'Veon Bell, that's a huge factor for the Niners. They don't have to deal with that bruising runner right now.
No.
And that's going to be huge, because then they can focus more on the passing game with Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
That's going to be big. Especially with the way Ben throws, and he likes to go downfield. He loves going downfield. That's going to be a real test for the secondary.
I don't know what the game plan is going to be, but I think the game plan on defense should be show the blitz about 75-80% of the time. Obviously, don't blitz all those times, but show the blitz so that Ben has to check out of whatever short yardage, whatever he's going to be calling in. And then cover Antonio Brown with the man and a half philosophy, where you got the man coverage, right in front of them, but there's always going to be someone in the back behind coverage help, whether it be a safety or whether it be a nickel, whether it be another linebacker to jam with the line, whatever it is, put someone on there that Brown he knows that they're out there, except for they're chucking him from a different spot every time, so he's not contingent on, okay, avoid this area and I can get open. And I think if you can do that, that's also going to limit Ben a little bit, because he's going to miss his favorite target at that point.
Yeah.
Especially with the absence of Bell.
Okay. And that was kind of it. Honestly, the camera kind of clunked out, ran out of memory before we could actually finish. So, you're just going to have to deal with this. What'd you think about all this? Was this entertaining? Do you want to see more of it? Because I'd kind of have to talk to him about it. So, anyway, leave your thoughts on the comment section below. I'm Paulo Camacho, and this has been the Macho Sports Report. Peace out, sports fans!